Okay, so this is what I would do. So when you get this wet, one of the problems is the tape or the glass has a bound edge that keeps it from unraveling, and that can create a tight point. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just get rid of it. And now it's going to take the corner.
Oh, cool.
Perfect. So you have a little ugliness out here, but you just move it out of the work. And then you can control it, and you have a nice pretty little tape little wrap of baseball if you use the right material.
So what's this made out of?
It's they call this e-glass, just regular fiberglass cloth. In this particular stuff, this might be 6 ounce, and this is sand the finish down to the glass. Then my blend, I'm not losing any material.
Right.
And it's simple to fair. That was all one solid bulkhead. And right here on that side, there was a hole similar to this. So I figured out whatever the laminate was. I'm going to just measure the laminate. I looked at it, 1/4 inch or 3/8. And I made a big sheet of glass. And this surface is using melamine. Held it, put a cleat across it, and padded the cleat where it met this, and glued it so that it was just below the finished surface.
Right. Just
and then used crazy
fill
glue.
in the hole.
Yeah, but
why was the hole there?
This boat was almost crushed, so they cut a bunch of holes to reach in and do a bunch of repairs.
Oh, okay.
Then did some bad repairs and just put inspection ports everywhere.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, when this is in place, glued a little bit below this finished surface,
Right.
then I kind of feather the edge of this, and then add more laminate here, and it sticks. You get some sort of bonding surface, not much, but by adding the extra glass, you end up with the same laminate, so you kind of get that same density.
Right.
So when this heats up, when the sun hits it, you're not going to see. This one's pretty ugly, but that one's all faired in now.
Yeah.
Sort of. But, so it's just kind of an example. I love making up my own glass sheets, and now I've got a good tube to compress against. You can also run it tall and put a bushing over it to spread your loads, and you can do all kinds of stuff with it. A few years ago, I had to hold a ring down on top of another ring. Make a glass junk. So I wrapped a bunch of glass around this thing and put a plate right down the middle and clamped the crap out of it, stuck it in the oven, and so then I had a series of clamps and ran them around. So this guy, each one of them is 1/4 inch threaded. A quarter,
Oh, wow.
1/4 24, the thread inside.
Did you do that after, or you put this thing in after, or when you did it?
No, each one was threaded after.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's kind of difficult.
No, I mean putting the compression tube in.
No, they were put in place beforehand.
Okay.
So each one was put on a little jig on a drill press. And I think I would have liked to see more tooth on the tube. Just sharp, a little
More
heavier
thread?
grit. Yeah, or maybe just carve a couple of grooves in it so that when the epoxy cures,
Oh, just to
it
put
forms
the
like a little lip,
Right.
some sort of give, because you could draw the 1/4 20 is strong enough to draw the tube out.
Oh.
But it's always, what I was doing, it was plenty to squish the two pieces together. But, I mean, that tube this is beefy as hell, and it's not too damn heavy.
Right. Yeah.
And it's glass, so it isolates, and it does all kinds of other stuff. We did a lot of overnight racing years ago, so we had a lot of pipe berths down below, and the stainless steel tubes were pretty heavy. So we made these carbon tubes, and this is just one wrap of carbon. And that's just fiber orientation.
Yeah.
Bag added weight that we didn't want. Only
Wow.
that's how stupid it was because
Jeez.
there,
Yeah.
it was a tenth of the weight of the stainless and
Yeah.
20 times stronger. Ridiculously strong.
We were actually early on. We were considering making our rear swing arm out of carbon.
Yep.
Then
But-
we were
but
told
we just-
that it's impossible.
Well, it's
no,
not
we didn't think it was
impossible, but it's
impossible. It was just we didn't feel qualified to.
Yep. So I could see you using something like this as a pivot for your control arm. So you would bond to this, and all your strength is in this, right? So if you went off to your arms could hold their own strength in a different direction.
Right, but where
Or
are they
this-
pivoting off of?
Wherever the hell you need it to pivot.
Okay, but what are we using to pivot? Straight off of that thing?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
this
okay.
is your control inside here.
Right,
That's
okay.
what I'm getting at. Read a mechanical drawing.
Yeah.
But I understand it. And so if you have your control points, they can occur inside these guys. You know, this would be like a data point. But you can do anything with these tubes or the larger tubes that are more bushings.
Right.
Like that little guy there. And somewhere I got a little guy.
Yeah.
And it is really easy to undo.
Yeah.
This is Kevlar and the same thickness.
Yeah, right.
Well, no, this is 3/8.
This is the same thickness that we have
okay.
in that
The middle of
that,
it.
that middle
Yeah.
section.
Oh, okay.
That we're gonna
But I mean, as a panel, it's only a half pound a square foot with the Kevlar.
even with this.
Yeah, well, Kevlar is terrible because it doesn't absorb resin. It's surrounded by resin.
Oh, okay.
So you're relying on the resin for everything. That's why this stuff is always flexible. It does nothing for you.
Right.
Nothing. It is a nothing material that somebody keeps tossing at the world. I guess it's good for jackets, but or abrasion. You know, you put it on the bottom of the car. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
For jackets.
Yeah.
So, but if you were to put it on the pan, if you were worried about scrubbing anywhere, if you went to Lime Rock, you would never have to worry about it. That's so smooth. But that's the whole thing. Is it's real easy to shear this stuff.
Right.
So if you don't tie your skins, these two guys, then you're screwed. So another thing that we used to do, as when we would build things, like say we wanted to attach a bulkhead to another bulkhead. If this was a square cut, route this stuff away a little bit, and then take some of the material. I can show you upstairs. We would make a rope out of carbon usually. Stuff it in the groove.
Stuff it in there.
So it ties your skins from the inside.
Oh, wow.
You're not adding bulk to the outside. Then, if this is a vertical that we're going to put in here, drill a hole. This has a little routed thing. And you got your rope here. Find out where the hole is right behind that. Drill a hole. Then stuff the rope inside on the other side, and then fan it out on the back side. So when it cures, it's a cleat, and it's locked it right in place. It's tied your skins, tied this, all kinds of cool stuff.
That's awesome.
Or you can stick it in place, goop it up, fill it, fair it.
Right.
It's like, we call that fiddle fucking green. Sorry. Wax the thing, painted gel coat in the deal, put a couple of layers of glass in it, popped it out, and then did this on the other side of this, popped it off, inverted them, and glued them together.
Oh wow.
But it ends up being so stiff and rigid, and that's just
Yeah.
3 pieces of glass.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Regular glass. Warp is, it's a 0 and a 9.
Right.
And so this is great strength. Right. It's because you can even how it's woven,
There you go.
but see the fibers are at a bias to this. It just allows it to wrap up. The owner had sanded all the gel coat off of it and created pinholes everywhere. So again, I used the gel coat to fill holes, fair, and do everything. So this'll buff and polish. Just you wouldn't believe it, but you can see the shine from the clear that's in it. If you see that the 3 in the morning, it's already that
Wow.
cured. Really durable. And you can practice it, even though it looks like crap, it blocks just perfect. So now I'll spray non-skid on it. And so this edge had been damaged quite a bit, and they told them they couldn't fix it. So yeah, so it kind of matched again, it matches density, and I mean it feels just like it, and it's strong as hell. Yeah, but I mean that's what I do. I've been doing it for a lot of years, and 150 pounds of lead.
Oh my god.
So.
That's why it's standing up.
But, and on the leading edge,
Oh my god. Holy shit.
one of the problems with a bulb that extends beyond the leading edge is kelp and eelgrass. So this little groove, they've got a rod that runs through a tube up here, and a razor blade sits on that thing. And if they think they've run over it, a guy goes over and he grabs that rod and he rams it up and down and slices the spaghetti off the front.
Wow.
And this thing was, and it disappeared in in a lot of places. So again, they were told it couldn't be redone. So we had one of those little pieces of glass, so it was like the same size. Stuffed it in there, pulled to that edge. It was, man, it's like cheating because it was so easy. And then they wanted the thing removed, so I had to cut a groove, a really narrow groove, all the way around the thing to get it off there. And I got all the way down to just about that much off, and it wouldn't come loose. It was held in with just glass. But the big thing is you want to isolate, particularly here, you want to isolate the carbon from the lead. And this is all gel coat.
How are the two connected? How?
Epoxy. And there are 2 bolts that run through it.
Right, okay.
The strut runs in, but they don't need the bolts. They're
Yeah.
just there for
Safety.
looks. Yep.
Wow.
But this thing has to support that boat with 6 people hanging off the edge,
Right.
going over 10-foot waves at 15 knots. So the loads you guys are looking at are
Nothing. Nothing.
and stuff. It just
Yeah.
freaks me out to have that friggin' slot in. But I've seen these boats go.
It could really just this.
Well, there's a rod in there, and the blade's at the bottom.
Oh, okay.
But you see,
Oh,
check it out.
Oh, wow. That's the same compression too.
Yeah, it's like a stainless, that's stainless though, but how they get the slot in it so perfect for such a long distance.
yeah.
So to fair the bottom of it, I roll this cart, run this through it, and pull it tight to the beam and sand that. And there's so much resonance, or the frequency. If I kick this, the whole building shakes for a long time, and then it'll come back. Right, it works great. High temp, carbon, it's perfect for the carbon. So I got it in there.
Wow.
So I bought that stuff for $3, and you just, it's like spraying Pam.
Wow.
It works great. It worked great. So, yep. And like that piece that's in there that fits so tight. See how I have the tape on there? The tape
Yeah.
is waxed.
Oh wow.
So when I'm done sanding, right off. Not right off, but it will come off
Right.
if I have to. Kill it clear. And then, where do I look to kill something? I must have used it all up last night, but and you can just see the shine wiggling away. So I was telling you about the 406 filler. It's 407. The colloidal silica. It's also called aerosol, but it's a thixotrope. Okay. Where microblooms and are fairing putties, and they're little spheres. Right. The colloidal silica is kind of the shape of a little jack, like play jacks, pickup jacks. So there's a lot of linking that occurs. So when you mix it with your putties, you get a really good cross, like hard, strong putty. With this, you just get some hard resin that goes.
Right.
But it's also like a desiccant. So if you don't have to really touch it very much, but just touch it and see how touch the putty. It's just a powder.
Oh, wow. Oh my god.
Can you feel how dry your hand got?
Yeah, like you didn't touch it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, it's like snow.
Right, but it's amazingly dry, so it's so cool for you. But this stuff, this West stuff, is what I think you should use for the car. Now we have two types of fairing putties. One is this brown stuff. I won't make you touch it. Okay? And it's a great putty, but it tends to leave pinholes. Lots of pinholes. And it needs to be a lot drier. It doesn't, some people, what they call flow coat with it, where they make a really wet putty and just try to flow.
Right.
But what I don't like about that is there's far too much resin, and you can't really control it, and the stuff, if you paint it where you want it to go, it's going to flow away from what you just put it on. This stuff is quite a bit different. It
Oh, wow.
stinks, but it's really great. And the beauty of this is you can put it on and keep, if you didn't like your putty pole the first time, you can keep playing with it. Horrible terms, but I mean, so, and the gel coat, I mean, if the car didn't have to be so friggin' light,
Yeah.
I'd say you gotta gel coat that thing. There's kind of a common rule where epoxy, you can't put polyester on epoxy, but you can put epoxy on polyester. Well, because of what they call an amine blush. All the gases rise to the surface, and this shine in epoxy would be an amine gas laying on the surface that affects everything. But they've since found out that you can remove the blush with water. So you could wash your vehicle with water. Just hose it with water nicely, clean it off, and you can put gel coat on it. Plus, this Duratec is kind of a vinyl ester base, or it has some what they call their voodoo juices in it, and that really enhances the bind to the epoxy. But it can be a little heavy. I'd worry about the torquing popping it. Or this will remain slightly flexible, but this is going to do a bunch of things. It's going to fair that thing. It's going to stick to it because it can only be used with epoxy. And it's really easy to sand. It's beautiful to sand. This is okay to sand, but it's not beautiful to sand.
So we would use this, on the outside?
So once the windows are in,
Right.
taped, and
Nice,
everything is ready to go, then you'd want to use some longer spreaders, small ones. I love soft spreaders for final work, but for shaping you need a slightly stiffer spreader. You can make them up, you can buy them in any lengths, or just use this and put it on and sand it down. And
Right.
if you've ever shaped anything before, all your shape is there on that thing. I saw where you just have, looks like it's resin rich.
Right.
So you have a lot of resin pockets and then voids behind it. So you have to determine how much of that crap you're going to sand off. You don't want to touch your fibers.
Right.
Biggest thing.
Yeah.
But those areas where the peel ply didn't touch that, you got to get all that shine out of there. And that's where all your blush is in it.
Right.
Seeing all the mountains and valleys. That piece in the back where you have that funny little void,
Yeah.
that just
Yeah.
delicately you're going to have to get in there and try to clean that up and
Yeah.
fill it. That I would fill with graphite powder and
Oh yeah.
And have you seen the graphite powder?
Not the, just regular graphite. Oh,
So
it's
just
like graphite powder.
That is it, right?
that's just wow. It's
It's
sharpen your pencils.
So when you mix that with resin though, it's beautiful. So you have a putty that's also kind of lubricated.
what is the ratio from?
Just
Whatever.
Keep putting it in until it's like the right consistency. And do you pump or do you weigh your resin?
You've been weighing.
Way.
Good. So just
Yeah. The
depends
volume
on,
is never the
right.
same.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for as far as how much you want to use.
Yeah.
So I literally don't know.
No.
I mean, well, the back, yeah, you want it to be tight.
Real thick.
And I would also throw a little bit of that in there.
Oh yeah.
Yep, because that'll give it a little hang. The graphite's pretty much the same thing. So this, you don't ever want to mix this with this.
Okay.
Ever. This is already
Well,
done.
but oh, you just made it.
So you can play with your own. You can play with your
that on,
formulas.
and then that'll eventually go over it. Right?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
But that's okay.
But you're gonna fill it with these guys.
What is that called again?
Colloidal silica, 406,
Oh, it's just that 406.
or cabosil. Some people call it cabosil or aerosil, but it's colloidal silica. It's glass.
406. Okay.
Killer desiccant.
About the putty for the plate
Mm-hmm.
and the front. You said we should mix our own
Yes.
with the spa bond. What
Well,
else
no, not with the spa bond.
Oh,
You're gonna use this stuff.
for the G10 plate.
Yep. And let me see if I can think of something I need to stick to something. A lot of times with some of the, like outside I have a but I can show you. A lot of these rudder posts are stainless and some were aluminum. And it's impossible to spec pipe or tube. And a lot of times if the pipe was, or if a post was aluminum, you can't get the right outside diameter with the correct wall thickness for strength in stainless. So I'll get it in the correct outside diameter, thin wall, and bush these. So I'll make a tall,
Oh, you'll just
hole.
stack them?
Well, yeah, I'll sleeve it. And wherever it has to go through the boat, I'll put this stainless bushing, and then this carbon post will run the rest of the length. And this was, this particular one was 5 feet tall. It took 60,000 pounds to shear that thing sideways. And that's 200 layers of wrap around. Unfortunately, I used balsa as a mandrel, but it was there. So I wrapped it around there, cooked it till it was tight, and then kept wrapping.
right.
And then that's 2 pieces of angle iron opposing each other, and that thing sitting in them. One had a different radius,
Right.
so it's just the two clamped against each other. Put it in the oven for an hour till the resins were flowing. Then just by opening the door, created a natural ramp or whatever. Reclamped everything, shoved it back in, and I mean it's a pretty clean outside surface.
Yeah. This is 5 feet.
Yeah, but so it's actually that particular one was pretty cool. I have another couple of them that were,
Oh, right. Yeah.
but with mechanical clamping, I could get a couple $100. That post was in here.
Oh, okay.
And they just clamped against each other. So as, you know, there was something like this before it started cooking. Then as the resin flowed, I was able to clamp it and it closed them up. And just by the shape of the inside, that thing popped up. Just by forcing it. Not these guys though. I mean, it was regular.
Right. Yeah.
Of melamine, and that's melamine just waxed look. I love the matte look also. And actually, I've sold them as veneers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so these guys are trying to make these bulkheads and make them all shiny, but it's difficult to make a panel if your table isn't perfect, come out right. So I was making those and just glue them down on top of their panels.
That's cool.
And they're relying on skin to do everything. Like they'll take a blank, they'll carve their foil shape into it, and then wrap it in carbon over and over and over. So I make my center line on a table, cut all my foils out of the extra sheet, and then that's glued out with crazy glue. And in between here, I'll lay a piece of carbon put a piece of carbon in here that comes up the vertical surface of each one of these guys, and then stick it in place with foam. Then use these things as guides, because when I carve that down, these guys actually give a different shape than the carbon that's wrapping up, or a different color. It's really kind of cool. So I create that shape really quickly, then wrap carbon over the leading edge and let it hang off the back. And one of the reasons for that is because it's such a great conductor, it doesn't just conduct electricity, it conducts energy. Really, it transmits energy really quickly. That's why they'll change the load path for dissipating energy, in accidents, in some of the Indy cars or whatever, because each layer is taking the load and shoving it outward. Well, a lot of people will take this laminate and wrap it around the trailing edge and come back. With all the carbon on the inside, all this buildup, by the time you've shaped this, you kind of create a trailing edge of carbon here before you get to the foam, just in its shape. So by wrapping the carbon over it and laying it over it is making your contact. If you wrap the carbon around it and you hit a lobster pot buoy while sailing, or something in the water, or a log, the energy comes back, it hits this little wrap going around it, and it blows it up, or it causes damage. If the fibers are running off the back of it and you whack something, the energy goes off into the water, and away you go.
Wow.
So, the reason I'm saying that is because I just repaired somebody's stinking rudders. So when this thing is all done, it's actually going to have little tip deflection, which is kind of a pain in the neck, because it really increases the load here. They want some tip deflection so you don't have too much moment here. And a post like that might be sitting in here all the way up, but this particular one gets mounted on the back of the boat, so it won't have a post embedded in it. But
Wow.
and that thing, when it'll have close to 5 feet in the water. Tubes for everything. I love compression tubes, obviously. So, the legal lady in there, we've got her a little dinghy that didn't have a rudder, but it had little pintles on the back of the rudder, but these are usually metal and they sit down on them. So I put tubes, these tubes happen to be the same size as the pintles, so I put the tubes over the boat, then stuck that little guy, that insert, which has carbon wrapped over it, up against it and crazy glued it, and then just took a bunch of rope of carbon and started wrapping it around this thing. And it fits on there really tight, but that's sort of that thing pivots in the same manner as a control arm, but vertically.
Right.
And was able to control the pivot in it's a pretty big distance.
Yeah.
Just using something that sort of sat in there or fill this gap with glue. Make your whole panel up. Put your tube in there. But if you were certain of that edge, you could put one on either end, but I would never trust anything. So I'd run a full length tube, wrap the crap out of it. You wouldn't rip those off in that car. Those little guys right there, just like taking a little string and wrapping it around there. No way in hell you're gonna pull that off of there. I could pick my car up with that.
Jeez.
It's ridiculous.
Nice.
So you have this whole thing as foam, then do a cool little cutout and wrap it. I know what this relationship is.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't matter what anything else is.
Yeah.
As long as it's all strong and it all kind of communicates. Or it doesn't communicate or whatever. And my big thing is, that's an isolator. So it's isolated all the way through this.
Yeah.
What's that little plug in the?
This,
Yeah.
that's just, it wasn't, sloppy a little bit. Put one of those little guys on either side to build it out,
okay.
just a hair.
Yeah.
I get cookie about stuff.
So are we just cutting out for weight?
Nope. Now, let's say you might have been able to do this, okay? In this area in here, reduce this thickness.
There's a little ledge in those. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
It,
You make like a gusset. If you
Yeah.
were to weld a metal gusset in there,
Right. Okay.
it would be a different,
Yeah.
look like a gusset.
Yeah.
So if you just do a rebate and then glass down onto that, that little change, that little
Okay.
is
Will
big
give it
strength
structure.
through these corners. And it's pretty stinking easy to laminate.
Okay.
Now for bagging, well, like your on your corners, this would be a little bit different because this is going to be a triangle and it has some other goody stuff that you would use for that. Shrink tape. So you'd wrap some shrink tape on it, heat that, and and the laminate that comes out of that is beautiful. So you want to be kind of careful anyway, and you probably wrap this with a bunch of little unidirectionals and lay, instead of trying to make woven fabric do something, do some individual pieces and fit them in place. Really simple. I mean, it sounds, I make it sound too simple, and I probably don't make any sense, but you sort of know what I mean.
Yeah.
But all little carbon dots. So we came out with a little hole puncher, and we made hundreds of them. And I said, how much you get for $1? So you idiot, we're not doing that. No, so that was really cool. That's the other beauty. I mean, you could do anything with this English, right? So the cool thing is,
What is that?
it's an accelerator. Wow. So now you can do, I mean, obviously that was just some stupid random shape, but you're not going to break that loose. That is,
Wow.
isn't that cool?
That's pretty cool.
That's an accelerator. Look what you can do to this shit though. So you could create everything you want with sheet stuff. You can't do compound and convex at the same time, but you could do some really controlled stuff. So if you were to do if you had this was your little cutout. There's your gusset. Put it in the middle. Right? Then, but these are all wrapped already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're gluing right to a wrapped piece already, and then you're just gonna add some more glass to it. So you don't have to wrap all the way around. You can just keep stacking it and then sand it when you're done. I mean, you can do this stuff's, one of the problems with the carbon is that it sands too easily and it goes away fast. But when you bulk it up like that, it's so cool, the shaping you can do. And then, of course, you can drill and tap this. Without a doubt.
Cool.
So So we're talking about these actual control arms
Mhm.
right now, being the carbon.
It saves you everything.
What are we wrapping around? By the way, again, what is
Well, you would get some foam.
just some foam?
That's not just foam. That's
Oh.
that's special foam. That's core cell. That's actually got some strength to it. But I have some sheet stuff upstairs.
Okay, and then what about where they're pivoting off of? Is that we can still just use just like locate some compression tubes?
Mm-hmm. So you could wrap the whole arm before you put your pivots on it. Right. Make sure you got glass everywhere. Glue your pivots in place, then wrap on top of them. Your tubes. Okay. That way you know that you got glass. You want to tie your skins. Got to tie your skins. Biggest thing, once you've tied your skins, you don't care what happens to this core.
Can you do that just from outside, or would you do it first and then do it on top of the tube again?
Yeah, do both.
Okay.
Do both. You don't have to put too much laminate on it, but just make sure you got these guys tied.
Right. And then just tying them from the outside is enough, right?
Yeah. Or you could tape them. Tape them.
Wow.
And you can make your own tape. Right? You roll out a section of carbon. And then cut a series of tapes. And the other cool thing you can do is you can cut it at a bias.
Yeah.
So then your tapes can do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Just kind of fun stuff.
So what about obviously like the wheel end of the control arm is locating that joint.
Have you considered a rack?
Maybe a rack.
Steering rack. Over one of the trim pieces, and then laminated on top of it. That's exactly where it had to go. And in place after carved, you can't tell it's plywood. That is 9 layers of that.
Wow.
I wrapped it around the air compressor, right?
Right.
Which just means it's all in one direction. And it is really strong in that one direction, but it is
Not strong at all.
nothing the wrong way. Now, you know about the strength of this stuff at all?
Super strong.
Tensils.
Right.
I hear it's kind of strong.
Yeah, well, I'd cut my fingers trying to break it, right?
Yeah.
You've heard of toe, right?
Toe?
Carbon toe.
No.
Carbon isn't where this is a woven material,
Right.
many long strands,
Right.
all continuous strands.
Oh, it's like in bits of like
Carbon
an
is,
increment.
right.
It's like yarn.
No, it comes apart, and there's nothing there. That's carbon.
Wow.
And heat really affects it. Not very hot today. And in a second, I'll really freak you out. That light socket thing. This is the perfect stuff I was talking about. So it's just bound by heat, right?
Wow.
In the oven, that's how they made it, right? So even like that, you still can't do it. But remember I said it hates touching itself?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like a magic trick.
So that's why you don't want to make sure that you don't have fiber.
Right. Yeah.
And you have good wet layup the whole time.
Because the epoxy is what it keeps it from touching
That's
itself.
right.
Oh.
That's
See, nobody said that about the epoxy.
Yeah.
Pre-preg carbon in that. You're supposed to have all fancy ovens. So I don't ever believe that. So again, I went to Home Depot, and the beauty of this is if you need more lamps, or you can get either a 500 or a 250 watt bulb. 500 is really hard to find now. But just for checking them, just pop it out, put it back in. A couple of these guys for telling what the temperature is. This is a bathroom fan that recirculates down into the other corner.
Wow.
And it's got a couple of bulbs in it as well. And I can get the box up to 300 degrees.
Wow.
Just with this cheapo HVAC stuff. But it's nasty inside. It's been around forever. This is the door latch. This tape. And it was supposed to last 1 or 2 jobs, but it's several years later. Father's boat. We will own it for 40 years this year. So this is
How did you take this picture?
some helicopters. So this is
Of course.
we somehow got original drawings for the thing, and I modified them a little bit so that I could read them. Made a plug, a wooden plug, and then popped this mold. So I've made a few of them, and they get little teak toe rails. This is the bottom paint, and then it'll get the little stripe and then the hull color, and it gets mounted on a big old board. So,
Nice.
but this is 4 layers of that glass, and it's really just regular glass. So it's so stiff and cool.
This is this the layers of the dry glass
Wet with resin.
wet with resin?
Yep. Several.
Alright. There she was.
Look at that.
You want to feel it?
No.
No.
It's pretty cool.
Can you feel it?
Yes. Instant.
Oh, that's it.
Oh, wow. Shit.
Well, it's just putty, right? Wait, it's just the dusty stuff. So. Now, generally, the epoxy has more, it's less viscous, right? Because it's proper temperature.
It's a little chilly. Huh? So that's the colloidal silica stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then, are you gonna add anything else?
No. And the thing about this is if you have a lot to do, like for that,
Plate?
for the plate,
Big plate, yeah.
mix some of it into the resin first,
Wait.
even though they tell you not to. Because this builds up a ton of heat.
Okay.
So just the mixing operation puts your gel, it puts your epoxy into the next stage,
Right.
and you haven't even used it yet. So if you
So you
get
mean before we put
the two parts together,
hardener
right, get
and-
the bulk of the.
Right, okay. Even in the tightening.
So it's just a matter, just keep working it in. And the beauty of it is it really does turn out like peanut butter. And you get quite a bit of hang out of it. Okay,
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. It's still there.
cool, huh? So that's your part.
Good one.
And
So what are the 2 things that's in there again? It's the
well, the epoxy resin
And the hardener.
and the hardener and just
and
this.
the
Colloidal silica.
Right. So let me.
And then what's
what?
So what was this 410 stuff? That was like the brown.
410 is your fairing
color
putty.
for the bottom?
Oh, for the
That's your
bottom.
shaping
Okay,
putty.
okay.
So you have this massive thing.
And then
there,
we'll
right?
just do this, but graphite for that like void in the back.
Right. Or a combination of both.
Oh, okay.
Now again, this is not a clean spreader, right? But this is your plate.
So it doesn't really run at all.
It doesn't run at all.
Nice.
Awesome.
Done.
Same time. Does like the silica change the drying time at all? The set time?
Depends how hard you mix it. You're building up all that heat,
Right.
and you got a ton of mass.
Yeah.
So you have just the thermal mass cooking thing.
Right.
So this is probably why we want to suspend it, right? Because the more we push down on it, the plate, I mean, when we're laying it in. So if we're pushing down,
If you
on
push
it,
down on it and it comes
slide.
back up at all, yeah, then you're gonna create a pocket.
Yeah.
But if you go straight down and you
We
liquefy
want it to
liquid,
be at the height that
right?
we want.
Right. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, done.
Sweet. There you go. That's it.
Touches? No, right?
No. In this temperature, it'd take all night, and then it still might not be right.
But like a hotter.
If you put it in heat, 10 minutes later, you're working on it. Give it some good heat
How much
for
do you-
even a half hour, right? Another thing I do, I got a lot of this stuff. I need to, if it was wrapped around correctly. That's just, but if your thingy was in there and you were able to tack it in place with glue, crazy glue, something like that. And this was a better laminate, or whatever. Then you come at it with your barber pole thing.
Our rear swing arm. Well, we were gonna make it out of blue foam, wrap it in carbon, and then evacuate the foam with
Acetone.
Acetone. Oh, you're laughing.
I've heard of that.
Really?
I've never done it, but I've heard of doing that.
Okay,
So this
that's
stuff-
crazy.
No. I mean, a lot of people do it.
not totally
Oh.
crazy. Well, Henry Elliott was doing it with his.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah. Those crazy airfoil things.
Yeah.
See it shrinking?
Yeah. You don't need a vacuum bag.
No, not for parts like this. This blows a vacuum bag away. And all tubes in the industry, or not all, but 99% of the tubes in the industry will have that barber pole look to it. So if you see tubes,
Oh yeah.
they kind of look like they have a funky little thing. It's that.
It would shrink.
So that literally, I mean,
Wow.
if there was a laminate in there, it's tight.